keep it going, he says. All right, well, the whole thing, I think, when it comes to understanding the mentality of the people that you're dealing with that are actually implementing all of these laws and everything like that, is basically that of a clinical psychopath. You know, it's not really arguable. Okay, they lie without even foreseeing the consequences of their actions. They never get brought to justice. They never feel any guilt. They never apologize. It's just the most ultimate form of scumbaggery imaginable, essentially. When it comes to scumbaggery, the government has got it locked down and key. It's actually quite beautiful, because not only can they bring you into the world, educate you to believe that scumbaggery doesn't exist, but then they can use scumbaggery to educate you about how the scumbaggery doesn't exist. And so, as a result, if you grow up surrounded by scumbaggery, you never even notice it. Kind of like the same way somebody grows up on a pig farm and never, ever complains about the smell.
Yeah, people are conditioned into obedience very easily, in fact. I mean, there's the Stanley Milgram experiment which showed that. And so Vinny's taking a break and I'm taking over the show. You're listening to the Vinny Eastwood Show, coming to you from Auckland, New Zealand, where Vinny Eastwood is railing against the system of dominance and oppression. And so am I, using my film Drug Lord as a means to educate the public about the drug wars, the drug war, and to help reform the drug laws that we currently have, make more sensible drug laws. And those of you who are in Auckland, who will be here on the 20th of March, you should make a stop at the Pathway to Reform conference, because some of the foremost experts in the world are coming to Auckland to talk about policy reforms and sensible drug laws that can return the drug problem to the public health sector, because currently it's handled by the criminal justice system, and that's just an appalling misuse of resources. If you have a couple of dollars that you'd like to bounce our way, please go to DRUGLAWED.com and click on the link to our Kickstarter fundraiser page, which is the green link at the top right-hand corner of DRUGLAWED.com. That's DRUGLAWED, L-A-W-E-D, DRUGLAWED.com, and help us finish post-production of this epic documentary. We've been working on this movie for 4 years. We've interviewed about 45 people so far, and we've taken about 25 of those interviews and edited a fantastic movie which covers the drug laws in detail and explains how New Zealand has been wrapped up in this drug war through coercion by the United States government. It's not just the drug war that New Zealand has followed the United States into. There's also the war on terror, which is something else which is equally nebulous. And I'm just going to go off on a little bit of a tangent to talk about that, because recently New Zealand has signed some legislation which allows the GCSB, New Zealand's version of the National Security Agency, to spy on the entire population pretty much at will. I mean, there are certain restrictions, but there are minor restrictions, and all the data that's being gathered is being gathered regardless of whether you like it or not. So they can have a look at that data, and who knows what might cause them to do so. You know, they might run an algorithm through your email, and they see the word terrorism mentioned, or bomb, or something like that, and you might be a journalist who's writing about those issues. You get black flagged, and your freedom of speech is severely curtailed. Your freedom to travel may be curtailed. You might be stopped at an airport in the United States because the GCSB flagged you as somebody who might be a terrorist when you're actually a journalist and you're trying to expose the truth about the war on terror. Now you can't, because you've been silenced through the mechanisms of the war on terror. So it's like a Philip K. Dick nightmare future that we've inherited, all because of an incident back in 2001 where several buildings collapsed mysteriously. And, 3 buildings collapsed, and one has a strange-shaped round hole in it that doesn't resemble the hole that a Boeing 747 would leave in a building. And I wonder how many people out there. I've got Vinny's come back, and as I said, several buildings he put up 3 fingers, because there wasn't just World Trade Centers 1 and 2, there was World Trade Center 7, which a lot of people do not know about, because it was not very widely reported that a 3rd building, which was not struck by any aeroplanes, fell down all on its own, basically. It had some minor fires burning it, but the fire department had those fires under control when they were pulled out of the building, and the building crimped in the middle and collapsed in about 7.5 seconds, a 49-story skyscraper.
Which is equal to free fall speed, which means there was no resistance upon any of the falling debris in a steel-framed skyscraper, and it was the 3rd steel-framed skyscraper in history to go down because of fire, and no steel-framed building has ever collapsed due to fire before or since 9/11.
Correct. All 3 on one day. Isn't that odd? Architectural failure of epic proportions. Then, but the Japanese architect who designed the Twin Towers came out and said that this is highly unlikely that a plane caused this, because they were purpose built to resist that eventuality. And I find it interesting that the entire buildings from basement to ceiling to the top floor were basically a poisonous hazard with hundreds of tons of asbestos that needed to be removed, and that would have cost quite a lot of money to.
In fact, a friend of mine's sister runs Nikau Contracting, and they actually got called into the World Trade Center in 2001 to do a bid on the removal contract of all the asbestos. And they went in and go, wow, that's a huge job, man. This is multi-million dollars. Can't you think of anything cheaper to do than manually remove the asbestos? And they said, well, we wanted to try controlled demolition, but the EPA said we wouldn't be able to, because all of the asbestos dust would kill all the
first responders, American heroes, left to die by their healthcare system. And I've got nothing against Obamacare. I've got something against the American government and anything that it's purports is going to help people. It's all a joke. It doesn't really matter if you're from a red state or a blue state. It's all just one purple mess. And so those first responders now have been left out in the cold, because they can save money by letting them die, essentially. So that's how your government treats your American heroes.
That's how your government treats eyewitnesses. Oh,
eyewitnesses as well, exactly. There's been a lot of mysterious deaths, not just related to 9/11 witnesses, but more recently there's been a whole spate of mysterious deaths. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman might be one of them. It's a case of you as an opponent of the state can actually just be taken out the same way that a mafia boss will take out a reporter who's getting too close to the truth. I don't think that'll ever happen to you or me. I don't think we'll ever be significant enough on the world stage to warrant an assassination attempt. But, I live in hope. Come get me, Johnny K. Come get me, Johnny K.
All it takes is the right price, you gotta bribe them politicians just right, just right, the way that they like it, you gotta have some nice girls, some beautiful champagne, you gotta wine them, you gotta dine them.
Oh yeah, and then
you can steal every dime from them.
Yep, gangster governments everywhere. There's only one government in the world that I trust. I'm not saying there's only one trustworthy government, but the only one that I know about is Uruguay and Jose Mujica, you are doing what every president or leader in this world should be doing, that being thinking about the people who you are serving, not ruling. And that's what Jose Mujica is doing. He's serving the people, not ruling the people.
Well, let's hope he doesn't get assassinated by some kind of US CIA hit squad or something like that. So you want to do this? No way, Jose.
They did it to Lumumba. They did it to, they've done it thousands of times. They did it to, just about half of South America has had their leader assassinated, their democratically leader assassinated or deposed in a CIA instigated coup. So, it wouldn't be beyond the spectrum of what they might be considering now. But I know that Jose Mujica has definitely displeased the establishment, particularly the UN drugs controls agencies, by dismissing the 1961 UN International Convention on Drugs. He's basically said, nah, we already signed it, but I don't care anymore, which is exactly what he should say, because it's outdated. It was crafted in the 1940s and 50s, and we're now in 2014. Why are we living under a regime that was crafted during World War II? That's when the drug regime that we currently have was drafted. So it's retarded, and I don't want to use that word offensively. I want to use that word accurately. It is a retarded thing to be doing. We are slowing ourselves down in the most horrendous and costly way.
Well, of course, everybody says, oh, well, what can I do about it? What can I do about it? As if it's a rhetorical question. It doesn't need an answer. Hey, look. Not everybody's issue is cannabis. All right, I accept that. I did hardcore cannabis activism involved with the same daiquiri people in Dr. Green like you were for a number of years, I think. And, you go and you look up daiquiri on YouTube, guess who's got all the videos there? It's frickin' me.
It's Vinny Eastwood.
Yeah, I've done heaps,
bro. We were comparing numbers earlier, listeners at home. But I still maintain that 420 New Zealand is New Zealand's dedicated cannabis channel. So, folks, subscribe to 420 New Zealand. It's all one word. All my videos are made by me. And the one that was posted yesterday relates to the Pathway to Reform conference, which is happening on the 20th of March. And we've got a screen behind us, folks. And if you don't mind, we'd like to play this video for you. And you'll be able to hear Grant Hall talk about the lineup of people who are about to come to New Zealand to deliver the goods about why the drug war is such an epic failure, and how New Zealand can lead the global community into putting drug control back into the public health sector instead of where it is now, the criminal justice sector, which is causing all these problems. So I'm going to roll Grant Hall's promotion of Pathway to Reform.
Hi, my name is Grant Hall from the Star Trust, and I want you to know how excited I am about this event happening March the 20th here in Auckland at the Nathan Club. Now, we've got some of the world's foremost experts coming to New Zealand to share their wisdom with us. They want to know how we're going with our new policy innovation that will regulate scientifically proven low-risk social tonics and then have them distributed through a licensed retail channel. That solution, that approach, which has never ever been done anywhere in the world before, is why we have so much interest and so much focus on New Zealand right now. This event on March the 20th is going to set the narrative. It's going to set the tone for all of the debate around this in and during this election year. It's a very, very important event. I hope to see you there. If I don't, then please tune in for the live stream, because we're letting everyone participate in the conversation. We've got a hashtag Pathway to Reform. You can get involved through social media. You can be engaged in some of the panel discussions. It's going to be an amazing day. Thank you very much for your interest and participation. See you on March the 20th.
And thank you to the Star Trust and Grant Hall, who have been supporting the production of DRUGLAWED. For those of you who are watching the podcast, you see this graphic behind me. The poster was sponsored by the Star Trust. They had a designer come up with that, and this T-shirt as well, the merchandising that you can get at our Kickstarter page, which you can find by going to DRUGLAWED.com, DRUGLAWED.com, and clicking on the green Kickstarter link.
Yes, it's a worthy cause indeed. And here's the other problem as well. It hopefully might do, like, we've talked about a number of different topics on this show tonight. You know, pharmaceutical industry, 9/11, and all of this other kind of jazz, right? Well, everything's connected by the thinnest of strands, but that thin strand is a strong link indeed. If it's a freaking unbreakable strand of truth, it is. And at the end of the day, any conspiracy that you start to realize, start to accept, can start to make you think about other things that are connected. And hopefully, watching the film DRUGLAWED will, in fact, enable people to understand some of the geopolitical scumbaggery that is going on around the issue, as well as link it up to a whole bunch of more ones. But
yep. As you say, Vinny, everything is connected. There are multiple strands that are interwoven here. You know, we've talked about them earlier. We talked about the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, which is subcontracting the slave labor of the prisons out to make weapons, you know, bombs and so forth. We talked about that in the first segment of the show. Those prisoners are there because of the drug war. A lot of them are black. A lot of them were arrested on minor drug charges. They got massive sentences because they're the wrong color and lived on the wrong side of the tracks. You know, nobody's going to throw Will Smith in jail or Will Smith's kid in jail when he gets caught with a bong. You know, there's one law for the rich.
They did throw Wesley Snipes in jail, but
Snipes was in jail for tax evasion. That's something different. That's dissing the Fed. That won't stand. That will not stand. Snipes! Word out to Snipes! Yeah! Remember, you were a Taekwondo champion. You can fight off those rapists in prison. You can fight them off. When you're out, you'll be back on top.
I always thought that Wesley Snipes would be at prison. Do you remember when he played what was his name, Simon Phoenix in Demolition Man, where he's like this king criminal, and he gets all these other really nasty criminals to get unfrozen with him and stuff. You know, I reckon it'd be like that. You know, Wesley Snipes walks out of the joint and he's like head honcho.
Do you know what? I think Wes is probably the man in jail. I think Wes is like Mike Tyson in jail. He's still got his celebrity status because all those guys in jail worship celebrities just as much as all the people outside of jail. They've all got the same programming. So, you know, Wes, if you're in jail, you know, live it up. You're still a celeb. That'll never change. Look at Lindsay Lohan.
What? Is Wesley Snipes still in jail? When did he go?
I don't know. You know, do we have internet access? Can we digress to find out if Wesley's out of jail?
Well, I think this is probably the most important part of the show. Is Wesley Snipes still in jail?
Okay, now I just want people to understand we're talking about the Federal Reserve Bank, which is actually behind Wesley Snipes being in jail because Wesley Snipes refused to pay his income tax, which you don't have to pay.
Here we are.
Find the law that says you have to pay income tax. Stupid American.
April
Stupid
the 8th.
American. Find the law. When you can't find it, stop paying income tax.
Yeah.
Okay, there's Wesley. Wesley was released in... Snipes is out of prison, and Sylvester Stallone has a role in the Expendables for him. Well, you should go back to prison, Wesley, because you shouldn't be starring in any action movies with Sylvester Stallone. Okay, he's over the hill.
I don't know.
It's bad for your career.
Look. I'm going to have to take issue with that last statement. The Expendables 2 was awesome because of Chuck Norris.
I didn't see Expendables 2, but I'm prepared to watch further Expendables sequence in the hope that one of those bastards dies on screen. Like for real.
It's mostly in the hopes that
not like a stunt that he actually dies. I hope it's Arnold.
Well, it'll mostly be the reason why I thought it was really great is because of the one-liners, bro. The one-liners, there's just so many of them. All of these action heroes have got their one-liners and everything, and what they do in the Expendables is they just recite one-liners virtually the whole time. It's freaking hilarious.
Okay, so it's basically a script of one-liners. They just coagulated all of those unused one-liners from the last 50 action movies into one script, and they just stuffed them all in there to make 2 hours of one-liner cap-off scenes. Okay.
With almost as many bad jokes as Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin, was that the Joel Schumacher version? I also...
It was so terrible, bro. Like,
it was awful.
My God.
Every movie ever made by him is horrible, but movies made by me are tremendous, so go to DRUGLAWED.com, DRUGLAWED.com, to watch the trailer of the forthcoming release Drug Lord, which exposes the drug war in all its many multifarious facets.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck you, Schumacher.
Yeah, man, forget about Schumacher.
I think we're probably getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. You know, we're just like commenting on celebrities while criticizing the general population for deifying them and all of that kind of thing. I mean, isn't we a bit hypocritical here?
I don't think so. I watched a recent documentary release called Propaganda, made by a New Zealander from Christchurch, Slavko. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. Slavko Miskov. I'll have to check on that. But anyway, Slavko turned around a really brilliant piece of filmmaking. It's actually a mockumentary. So it's presented as a release by the North Korean government critiquing the excesses of consumption in the West as a state-made propaganda piece. But of course, it's actually Slavko's direction that gives the story its shape. And it sounds like a North Korean propaganda piece, and it has been confused as being a genuine propaganda piece, but it's actually a very clever critique about how out of control the West's capitalistic system has become.
So what was that you call it? A genuine propaganda piece it was mistaken for. How can propaganda be genuine?
Yeah. I mean, the lines get very blurred. It is a propaganda piece, but it's a propaganda piece about, dethroning propaganda and dethroning celebrity. So, propaganda doesn't necessarily have to be false. You get good propaganda and bad propaganda. Good propaganda, for example, let's save what's left of the environment. I know a lot of people disagree about climate change, but let's just talk about pollution. Pollution is bad. Forget about the argument about climate change. There's too much pollution. We don't have to argue about climate change. We have to reduce pollution. It doesn't really matter if it's causing climate change. It's definitely causing the acidification of the ocean. That's a bad thing. If our coral reefs die, we all die, because there'll be no fish in the oceans, and there'll be no food for all the coastal areas that depend on the oceans for their food. That means those coastal people will invade the inlands, and scarce resources will then be fought over, and our entire world would degenerate into anarchy, war, famine, and chaos. So let's avoid that by living better today.
And executing you for Rockefellers.
Well, I don't think these people should be executed, because I don't believe in capital punishment. I believe they should be
excommunicated.
Yeah, to like the moon. The idea of corporal punishment for really evil people, I think, is less punitive than imprisoning them for the rest of their lives and letting them stew. I think people who want revenge through corporate punishment have actually missed the opportunity to really make somebody's life unbearable just through boredom, if not through other means. I've been confined for 30 days. It's very taxing. It's taxing.
You know what? Actually, David Rockefeller will become a very popular person in prison. He'll be welcomed like a prince of darkness.
How old is Rockefeller? He must be in his 80s now.
90s, bro. 90s. It must be like Kissinger.
90s. Incredible. It's funny that that these dudes who've had such high stress lives live for so long a lot of the time. Like Robert Mugabe, what keeps these people alive?
In a word, pedophilia.
You reckon they live just to defile?
No. It's because they defile them that they live. It's a different.
Really, they're like vampires. They draw their energy from young innocent.
It's dark occulted mysticism, bro.
I don't know if Mugabe is into witchcraft, but yeah, you know, I have heard that. Or in fact, I think it's almost certain that Kissinger was at coven meetings in the Redwoods in California. And they burned effigies and so forth. And I've seen the videos that were taped of the Skull and Bones Club, which Bush and Kerry and many other presidents and presidential candidates are members of. There was quite a gruesome ritual that was filmed from the rooftop of a neighboring building in the university campus. You couldn't clearly make out what was happening, but it looked quite demonic. So whether or not they're just enacting some ritual, some kind of hazing, hazing ritual, you know, even if it is a hazing ritual, it's quite a nebulous ritual, and you've got to ask who would participate in that stuff, because if it was me in that coffin being screamed abuse at, I would say, excuse me, I'm leaving now, and I would leave. But of course, Bush and Kerry and et al., they endured that strange ritual to become members of this secret society, and that gives one pause for thought. If your leaders, if your national leaders are involved in a cult, you are in trouble. And it's not an if, they are. Well, Obama's not, but Bush definitely was a cult member. So, good luck.
Well, it's an old story, but it's a good story about the people who are in so much of a position of wealth.
Jeb Bush,
and
2016.
Well, the wealth and power is a corrupting thing. You know, it happens to everybody. And when you are capable of getting away with anything, literally any kind of debauched act you could possibly think of,
Rape.
Daddy will cover it up, etc. Imagine how insane that would drive you. Imagine what that would do to your desires, your humanity, and all of these things. You know, that's what happens.
I've met traders who've told me that the Wolf on Wall Street is quite accurate, that it's not even over the top in terms of what they depict, and that sort of psychopathy gets replicated throughout many power structures, and the church and government have colluded in mass child abuse rackets that were suppressed. There's a very interesting documentary about that was made by an English channel and that was completely retracted, that you can see online, which documents how the cabal of Republican congressmen and senators had conscripted basically a male prostitute and child slave ring into their personal use that was being run under the auspices of a church charity. So they were actually guilty of all kinds of heinous acts, and none of them were ever held accountable for these things, even though this documentary proves beyond doubt that there was this mass child abuse going on. They're beyond power. They're beyond the reach of the law because of the power that they have.
And they often come down on those who have actually personally experienced it and been right in the middle of
the
it.
The victim
kind of
becomes
thing.
the perpetrator. And many of the people who brought charges against this cabal of Republican pedophiles and rapists were themselves destroyed in terms of they were vilified, they were presented as liars and as extortionists. Meanwhile, they were just fighting for some minor compensation compared to what they'd undergone over years of abuse, systematic abuse and slavery, actually. I can check online for the name of this documentary. It'll pop back in my head, but it's terrifying. And currently, the kinds of abuses that are going on, I think they've gotten the pedophilia rings under control within the Republican Democrat dual dictatorship. But now,
do you mean by in better control, they're now able to cover them up a hell of a lot better?
Well, we don't hear about it as much. But in terms of the incursions of the weapons and the military-industrial complex into the government, it's quite incredible that a director of Raytheon, the company that produces smart bombs amongst other weapon systems, their vice president is Obama's one of his chief advisors, I think, to Obama is this Raytheon vice president. So if the guy who's making the bombs is advising the president, he's probably advising him to drop those bombs on as many people as the president can get away with bombing. That's just the way Western-style capitalism profits. So it doesn't matter what the product is, it has to go off the shelves. It has an expiry date, and Raytheon needs to produce new and smarter bombs to drop on brown people and black people. Not so much black people. The black people aren't getting bombed anymore, but a lot of brown people are getting it from Raytheon. Although no, that's actually not true, because you've got the Congo and Central Africa. No, black people are also getting bombed. But it's more limpet mines than smart bombs. It's more paramilitary style weaponization of Africa. But
well, and then of course there's the Israelis to talk about in Palestine.
Oh
and all
yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm classing the brown people as, the Arabs, the South Americans, and the black people as specifically the Africans. But yeah, you white people need to be careful, because it's only a matter of time. They're going to run out of people of color to bomb, and then they're going to bomb white people. That's going to be a bit of an eye-opener. I mean, it's kind of started to happen, but it's, it's going to happen more. It's not just going to be, the former Yugoslavia. It's going to be bombs dropping in civilized Europe, It's going to be bombs dropping soon, because the bombs have been made, and that means they have to be used.
Isn't it interesting how you would, let's say, stack poison or weapons and what have you, and they've got a use by date, so it's like, oh my God, I have to kill somebody.
You can't. I was talking to Vinny earlier before the show about the weaponization of ecstasy and during the apartheid years by the apartheid government in South Africa, where Wouter Besson made an aerosol ecstasy for crowd control, which was, going to be blasted at the crowd using water cannons, this ecstasy dust to basically pacify a crowd in the event of a riot. And they sold a lot of this ecstasy on the black market, tons of it. I don't know if you could say tons of it, but hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of ecstasy tablets were sold by Wouter Besson. And many barrels of the stuff, and a barrel would contain 50,000 tablets, were dumped in the ocean to dispose of the evidence of this crime, basically this weaponized ecstasy. And they weren't just weaponizing ecstasy, they were weaponizing a whole bunch of chemicals for use in crowd control, for use in interrogations, for use in all kinds of nebulous acts. And so I just wonder how many fish and other aquatic creatures were poisoned in the mass dumping of ecstasy and other drugs into the ocean to dispose of these state drug crimes, that were perpetrated during South Africa during the apartheid years. The costs of the drug war are insane, because Wouter Besson wouldn't have been able to do this in a regulated market. It was only because he could make so much money for his other off-the-books